Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of Hurd in the House, the podcast for Colorado's 3rd Congressional District. This week, in recognition of National Police Week, we are joined by 3 law enforcement leaders from across western and southern Colorado: Montrose Police Chief Blaine Hall, Durango Police Chief Brice, and Pueblo Police Chief Chris Noeller. National Police Week is an opportunity to recognize the men and women in law enforcement who put on the badge every day to protect and serve their communities. Today, we're going to talk with each of our guests about their path into law enforcement, the specific public safety challenges facing their communities, the importance of trust between officers and residents, and what National Police Week means to them after decades of service. I'm going to start with Montrose Police Chief Blaine Hall. Chief Hall, welcome to Hurd in the House.
Thank you, Congressman. It's an honor to visit with you today.
Now, Chief Hall is a Western Colorado native who grew up in the Orchard Mesa area before beginning his career with the Montrose Police Department in 1997. Over the last nearly 3 decades, he's served in leadership roles across the department before becoming police chief in 2018. In addition to his work in law enforcement, Chief Hall has remained deeply involved in the Montrose community through volunteer and victims assistance organizations, while emphasizing community policing and focused crime reduction efforts within the department. Chief Hall, so you grew up in Colorado's Western Slope in Orchard Mesa before building your career in Montrose. How did growing up in Western Colorado shape who you are today?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up, in Orchard Mesa and Grand Junction when I would say Montrose reminds me of Grand Junction, more of that small town community. It still has that feel, but it's obviously much larger. I remember my mom and grandma taking me down to Main Street in Grand Junction at Woolworth's and paying 25 cents for pie. Now I'm really dating myself. And just the Giraffe Cafe in Grand Junction and just that small town feel, which, when you have that small town feel, you know everybody and you have those relationships. And I would say, just to start, that's what policing is about. It's about relationships, and policing and law enforcement. It just doesn't get done, whether, in my opinion, you're in a metro area or in a small town, without having positive relationships.
I think that's a great perspective. Absolutely true. Now, you spent more than 2 decades with the Montrose Police Department, and you've worked your way through nearly every level of leadership. When you first joined the department in the late 90s, did you ever imagine one day you'd become chief?
No, I don't think most law enforcement officers, when they first join a department, have aspirations to be a police chief. Maybe some do. I was thankful that I got a job in Montrose, and I wanted a career that was fast-paced, something that I could give back to the community, and honestly go out and arrest bad guys. That was the attraction. Law enforcement, we wear the white hats, and growing
Absolutely.
up in Grand Junction, that was just always something that was an interest to me.
Well, I think that's a testament to your leadership and skills and ability and trust that you have of the community that you serve, that you're now the police chief there. Now, you've said your number one goal is improving public safety through community policing and focused crime reduction. Tell listeners of this podcast, what does community policing look like in a city like Montrose?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are the right size to be able to, I think, affect positive change more quickly than larger or sometimes smaller agencies. We have the funding to be able to do those things, but also we're not large enough to where steering the ship requires a lot more turns. And so some of our programs currently are things like the theft reduction prevention grant, where we take city tax dollars and we give back to business owners through a grant program to help them harden their business towards crime reduction, burglary. So once they submit an application, then we will have a crime prevention through environmental design trained officer assess their business, and then we will in turn award grant dollars for better locks, better lighting, camera and security systems, so things like that. That program is now morphing into more of a camera safety program this year we'll be partnering with our downtown business owners and helping to fund infrastructure that then feeds outdoor-facing cameras back to the police department. Again, further for crime reduction, we'll be able to know when someone is potentially lurking around their building at 2 a.m., so it's just more eyes for us. So just some of those things, along with National Night Out that we do, every fall, where we get community members out just to meet them, and we get to talk about what we're doing as a police department, and things also like Citizens Academy that we just finished up this year, getting citizens of the police department to, again, just inform and build those relationships.
That's
so
great.
It's been awesome.
That is community policing. That's that makes sense to me, and that sounds certainly like community-focused policing as well. So Montrose has changed significantly over the last decade. It's grown rapidly. How has that growth changed the challenges that face your department?
Certainly, yeah. Policing has changed in general. I think there's a lot more to policing, especially in the realm of technology growth. What we've seen here in Montrose, unfortunately, is definitely an increase in violent crime, and we're trying to do things right now to get a handle on that. Here, just within the last year, we started a domestic violence task force with a very specific, focused effort to reduce domestic violence in our community. We instituted a lethality assessment tool, which I understand was something that is or was considered as mandatory in the state recently. And so we're really trying to bring community stakeholders together in a lot of ways, but in this way, Health and Human Services, the DA's office, the local law enforcement agencies to focus on repeat offenders so that they, in turn, honestly get good sentences. And sentences don't always mean prison terms. Sometimes it's a lot of accountability and treatment and counseling. But at the end of the day, it's to reduce recidivism. So that's one thing we're doing, along with just an increased focus on that violent crime. We had an officer-involved critical incident here just this last Saturday. Unfortunately, the officers are okay.
Good.
But that individual is being arraigned this morning.
Wow.
So
oh, my goodness.
It's a serious issue.
Every single day, you and the men and women that are sworn to protect that community put your lives on the line. I when I talk to law enforcement and first responders, I always say, the natural human instinct for most people is run away from danger, and your job is to run towards that danger. And I will tell you just how crucial that is in that role and keeping the rest of us safe. Now,
thank you.
Unlike bigger cities, larger metro areas, smaller communities rely on relationships and trust between officers and residents. Talk to me about that connection. How important is that local connection in a place like Montrose?
It's incredibly important. I've said it before, I'm the luckiest police chief, I think, in the nation. I have a community that supports our law enforcement officers. We have just an amazing team. But that doesn't come naturally. It comes with a lot of hard work. It comes with getting out of the car and meeting with people and listening to their concerns. And sometimes people are mad at you, and that's okay. And if you sit there and you give them an opportunity to vent and voice their concerns, and then you do something about it, and that just builds trust. And I think that's what our agency was founded on, and I think that's what we continue to try to do. And as a result, it's really built a good relationship with our community.
Talk to me about one of the things that I've seen in traveling around the 3rd District is some of the mental health challenges that law enforcement is addressing when you have those contacts and those interactions with members of the communities. Can you talk to me about how that's maybe changed in your time since you first started in law enforcement, and how is that mental health aspect a part of what you do as law enforcement officers?
Yeah, that's another huge change, I think, in law enforcement, and I think it's been a positive change. When I first started in law enforcement, we were everything, and to a degree we still are, but We would be the individuals responding to these mental health calls. We would be the individuals that would be doing the assessments, the holds. And today that's really changed. It's changed for our department. We have a mental health co-responder who's a licensed clinicianist that works right out of our police department. No different than many other departments on the Western Slope, which is great. And he responds with our police officers to mental health calls. Just from a de-escalation standpoint, not that our officers weren't doing it, but there's also that warm handoff. If that individual needs a higher level of treatment, needs to go to the hospital, then that mental health co-responder clinicianist is the one that then transports that individual, stays with that individual, and that individual doesn't end up in the backseat of a police car, which is really important, and it's important for recidivism, and then it builds that connection with the mental health support team, hopefully so that you're not back having to address the situation again. And that didn't used to be like that.
Right. Well, I know that's an important aspect, and it's evolving, and that is an interesting change in over the decades, and I know that's going to continue to evolve. So, Chief Blaine, you have spent nearly 3 decades in law enforcement, and this is National Police Week. Can you talk a little bit about what National Police Week means for you personally?
Yeah, I think it's a time to recognize and honor all of our police officers. There's certainly a focus for fallen police officers. In 2009, Sergeant Dave Kinnerknick, one of our sergeants, was feloniously killed in the line of duty, and 2 of our other officers were also wounded. One did not return to duty. And I think it's just an important time to reflect and remember for our community members that you have officers out there, deputies, that truly care about their community and that they're serving their community with honor, with integrity. And you said it best. They're the ones that run to the gunfire. And they are doing everything they can to keep the community safe. And it's an honorable profession, and it's just something that for our police officers, they also need to be reminded and remember that their community supports them.
Chief Blaine, last question. What message would you like to share with law enforcement officers serving communities across western and southern Colorado this week?
Yeah, I am very reminded, especially with our critical incident that we just had last week, that mental health peer support is something that is vitally important in our profession. And if you are a law enforcement officer and you are struggling, it is extremely important that you reach out for resources. I hope and I believe that most law enforcement agencies in the western slope of Colorado now have peer support programs. We have second-level mental health clinicians that visit our police department every other week. It is not a shameful thing to reach out and ask for help and ask for support, because this is a hard job, and it takes courage to do that, but it's also something that is accepted now within our profession, and asking for help is something that needs to occur.
That is a great message. Chief Blaine Hall, thank you so much for your service to the citizens of Montrose, the city of Montrose. It's terrific being a partner with you. Thank you for that. And please give the thanks and appreciation of us here in Washington to the men and women in the Montrose Police Department. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Congressman.
Our next guest is Durango Police Chief Brice Current. Chief Current has spent more than 2 decades in law enforcement, serving in roles ranging from patrol deputy and detective to undercover narcotics investigator, SWAT operator, and SWAT commander before becoming chief of police in Durango in 2024. Chief Current has emphasized community-oriented policing, regional cooperation, transparency, and officer wellness in his role as police chief, all while helping lead public safety efforts in one of Colorado's most unique and rapidly growing communities, the wonderful city of Durango. Chief Current, welcome to Hurd in the House.
All right, thanks for being here.
So, Chief Current, and also happy National Police Week to you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So, Chief Current, before becoming Chief of Police in Durango, you spent years working narcotics, investigations, SWAT, and patrol operations in New Mexico. What first led you into law enforcement?
It's interesting because I didn't like police officers growing up. There were a few that I knew that were my friends' dads, and my experiences weren't great. But I had a couple of mentors that I was going through college with, and I really respected them and started really thinking about the career. More so, it was kind of my personality. I remember in junior high, there was a girl in a wheelchair, and her last name was Canode, rhymes with commode, and they were just giving her a hard time. And I remember, this is probably not what a lot of people want to hear from a police chief, but I hauled off and hit a guy in the face, and I did not end up winning that fight. I was laying on my back and looking up, but I'll never forget her smile. And I've always just felt this need to give victims a voice. And, as I grew up and matured and realized that, policing was a good place to be able to do that and give them that voice, and
to stand up for what's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Another critical issue is I always saw people in government, and it just seemed like a lot of people could become comfortable and sacrifice humanity for convenience. And I always wanted to be that person that steps in, and if you're going to occupy that position, to do it well when people are depending on you. That always felt right.
That's terrific. Now, when you look back on your career so far, what accomplishment or moment are you most proud of? Was it a case, a program, leadership decision, or some of the impact you've had on the community and the officers that you've served alongside?
I mean, thinking back on a lot of it, it's a lot of the mentorship and being able to work with the community 100%. But the things I'm most proud of are things that never happened. And what I mean by that, I think a lot of times in law enforcement, people expect to be the hero or in front of the cameras during a critical incident. And, I was involved in a school shooting incident in Aztec when I worked in New Mexico, and my daughter actually attended that school. And I remember previous to that, there was a lot of indication that could have happened. And if some of the officers would have stepped up and would have done the right thing at the right time, it never would have happened. And so what I'm most proud of are the things that we never measure because they never happened. And more so, the things that weren't reported to me first, that through a little extra work, a little more diligence, a little more communication, a little more partnership with not just the community, but also a lot of the criminal element, as I worked in narcotics and other things, to gather information and be able to share that information. I remember there was a school shooting planned in southern Colorado that somebody was stockpiling weapons, and nobody ever heard about it.
Oh, wow.
Because it never happened.
Thanks be to God. Chief Current, you have worked undercover narcotics assignments for years, work that can be dangerous. It can also be mentally demanding. What did those experiences teach you about people and communities?
That's probably where I learned the most. You kind of go in with an us against them mentality, and you really just learn the humanity of everyone in those situations when I was working undercover. Another thing I learned, the real problems aren't always the drug dealers. It can be the politicians, the dirty cops, attorneys, and until you're able to clean up a lot of that stuff, you're just not able to deal with the drug dealers. And another, and while the numbers may be few, there's only a few corrupt officers can damage everything and all credibility.
They can destroy trust for sure.
Yeah, and trust is our fuel. because the public consents to be policed. And, another thing I've learned that people age out of crime. And I remember walking down the street and somebody hugging me that got out of prison, and they were in prison because of me. And just thinking back about the dynamics of that and the humanity of that, and sitting in cars with informants, about to go do something dangerous like buying drugs from a drug dealer or whatever, and hearing about their past and how they got there. And
Yeah.
You just realize everyone was a little kid at some point, and the humanity is good. It's good for officers to feel that and see that.
There's a quote I once heard. I don't remember where it was from, but it was something along the lines of, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. And that's a really interesting... I thought of that quote when you were mentioning the guy that gave you a hug after you helped put him in jail. And I believe in the possibility of redemption and changing your life around. And oftentimes that comes through contacts with law enforcement that, on the surface are not good for that person and end up in jail. But that can be the catalyst to really change lives in a way that's positive.
Yeah, and that person was taking care of a bunch of grandkids, and we had seized the house, and they came back and repurchased the house. So the accountability was good, but also, the humanity as well. So, yeah, I agree.
So let's talk a little bit about Durango, Chief Current. This is a small mountain city. It is a tourism destination. It's a college town, Fort Lewis College. It has and it's a regional hub all at the same time. How does that complexity shape the way your department operates?
Yeah, it's interesting. I know everything's measured per capita, from one city to the next, but we are one of those communities. We double in population during the day, and during the weekend, it could quadruple. And we're a destination town, we're an event town, and people need to be able to walk around and feel safe and be able to, we have a lot of protests, and people need to have their voice heard and in a safe environment. And I would say it's a small city with big city problems. We're in the high intensity drug trafficking network area, the Haida area.
The Haida,
We're surrounded by towns that are pretty violent, and we're not. And so, our goal is to not respond to crime, but prevent it before it happens, and also, deter crime. And one of the things we focus on is, and I'm a true believer that, I believe in accountability, and there has to be prison, and there's really bad people that need to be there. But I also believe that it's not a deterrent. Most of the individuals that are in the criminal world at the time in their life, they are worried about 10 minutes, not 10 days. And so we got to be able to create an environment where they think they'll get caught if they come into Durango and commit a crime. I remember interviewing people for homicides, and they were good to admit it as long as they could get a cigarette in the next 10 minutes. And so we really focus on our technology and precision policing to create an environment where it's a deterrent, where they think if they come to Durango and commit a crime, they're going to get caught.
Now, one other question. Durango's location near tribal lands, state highways, remote rural areas, means agencies and law enforcement entities often have to work together closely. How important are those regional relationships?
They're more important than ever, especially with all the new technology that we have nowadays. We're finally at a point where, relationships are everything. Everything we do is relational in policing, and we have a hashtag #OneDurango, where we truly believe that we cannot reduce crime. We can't do anything without the public and without our partners. And with them giving us the consent to be policed in the first place, we have to have that partnership. And our regional partners, and with the different dynamics with the reservation and we're in the Four Corners. We're next to New Mexico, Arizona, Utah. We're at a point now with all the new technology that's come out, and we got to be very careful on how we utilize it. We want to focus on sharing information. And if we can share that information, we can create a safer environment. And we can also focus on precision policing and not bothering those that are not violating the law. And I would even argue to say a lot of the technology nowadays provides more privacy, more precision, and more exoneration. And that's kind of the importance I see in sharing information right now in today's with today's technology.
Interesting. Very good. Now, this is, as we mentioned before, a National Police Week. Chief of Police in the city of Durango, what does National Police Week mean to you personally as someone who has spent decades in law enforcement?
Well, when I think of it, I think about one of my partners in a previous agency that was chasing a guy, and he was shot in the shoulder while he was chasing the guy, and he had a bead on the suspect, but there was community members in the background, and he decided not to shoot and to continue to put his life in jeopardy because of that. And I've also seen where officers overuse the word officer safety and, will justify different things for officer safety. And I think that term is overused at times too. And we took an oath. What it really means to me is the oath that we took that we are going to put ourselves in jeopardy for the public. And that, also to have gratitude for those that have stood beside me and mentored me and the other officers all those years, but also those that have worn the badge before, that may have suffered from PTSD or death or suicide or just time away from their families. But I would say above all, probably the commitment to sacrifice and the oath that we took.
Yeah. I think you put it very well there. What's a message that you would like to share with law enforcement officers serving communities across western and southern Colorado this week?
Well, there's a lot of buzzwords in policing, and, wellness and resiliency is kind of at the top of the charts today. And while I think all that is important and we should all have all that stuff in place within our departments, I think the officers need to focus on just having an organized life. And if you're going to put yourself, like I said at the very beginning, if you're going to put yourself in a position to occupy a public safety position, I think, like, say, for instance, a child sex crimes detective, you don't want to put yourself in a important position like that unless you're willing to do what it takes and sacrifice for the public, which means, not just putting yourself out there and protecting, putting yourself in unsafe situations to protect the public, but actually coming to work and doing the work every day. And you have to have an organized life to be able to do that. And, it's not about how much time you have at home, but what you do with that time. And you have to be super intentional to have an organized family life and be able to give it your all when you do come here and serve the public, because that's what we are. We're servants.
Chief Brice Current, City of Durango Chief of Police, happy National Police Week to you, and thank you for your commitment to public safety in the City of Durango and your willingness to risk your personal health and safety and life to protect those you serve.
Thank you. Appreciate the time and appreciate the acknowledgement.
Our final guest on today's Hurd in the House podcast is Pueblo Police Chief Chris Noeller. Chief Noeller has served with the Pueblo Police Department for nearly 30 years, working in assignments including patrol, narcotics, SWAT, DEA task force operations, and department leadership before becoming Chief of Police 4 years ago. He now also serves as Deputy Mayor of Pueblo. I did not know that. Chief, that you're also Deputy Mayor of Pueblo, and you're also President of the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police. Chief Noeller is a Navy Reserve veteran and a longtime law enforcement leader, and in that capacity, he has consistently emphasized officer wellness, public safety partnerships, and strengthening trust between law enforcement and the community he has spent decades serving. Chief Noeller, welcome to Hurd in the House.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
Chief Noeller, your career in law enforcement has taken you from patrol officer all the way to chief of police, with assignments, as I mentioned before, narcotics, SWAT, DEA task force operations, department leadership. Was there a specific moment earlier in life when you realized this was the career that you wanted to pursue?
That's a funny question. The answer is I really never wanted to be a cop.
Huh.
I wanted to be a fighter pilot. My dad was in the Air Force, but turns out you have to study in school and that kind of stuff. So I didn't do that. So I lucked into the career I was meant to have. My brother-in-law wanted to be a cop pretty much his whole life, and he talked me into going to Pikes Peak Community College's police academy, and that was in 1992, and all those years later, here I am.
Wow. Now, many people know the title chief, but fewer understand all the experiences that come before it. Of all the roles you've held over the years in law enforcement, which one changed your perspective on policing the most?
It's hard to put my finger on one particular time and place. I think just being in those various positions, because I also served like in the traffic unit and some other less more obscure areas of the department. And I think having that wide background, being on the DEA task force and meeting with and talking with officers from other departments and hearing what their challenges and successes were, opened my eyes to a whole different level of what was going on in the world, especially as it relates to law enforcement. Obviously, the higher up you go in command, the broader your vision is as to what is happening, not only in the organization but across the country. And I think that promoting and being willing to put myself in places where I wasn't super comfortable had a huge impact in changing my perspective.
Okay. Now, you've spent nearly your entire professional life serving Pueblo. When you drive through the city today as chief, what makes you most proud of the department and also the community that you serve?
Well, I think the thing that makes me the most proud is the men and women that serve with me, that I have the honor of leading. They're an incredible group of individuals that really, day in and day out, go and do some pretty brave things to try to make our community better. When it comes to the community, I think the thing that I'm most proud of, and I mentioned being a military brat, so I'm kind of a nomad. I really don't have a place that I'm from. I'm from everywhere. I've been in Pueblo for 30 years. It's the longest I've ever lived anywhere. And the community here is really something to behold. It's a blue-collar town. We have some crime issues, but the people here support the department overwhelmingly, even through the 2020, 2021, 2022, when the rest of the country was having a different vibe. Here in Pueblo, the community really encircled us and looked out for us. And I've been doing this job for 33 years, just about. And for the last 5 years, 6 years, I've never had more food brought to the department. I've never had as many people thanking us for what we do when you just run into them out in town. And I've never seen as much support for law enforcement as I have in this community over the last 5 years. And I think that's something I'm proud of, and it makes me proud to serve the people that live in this town.
That's awesome. I love Pueblo, and hearing that makes me love it even more. Now, Chief, Pueblo, you kind of alluded to this before. Pueblo has been a working-class city with a strong identity and deep community roots. What makes policing Pueblo different from policing other Colorado communities?
I think the biggest thing is what I mentioned a minute ago. I mean, this town is robust. It's been through, in its history, it has been through some very trying times. And the people here just seem to, instead of fighting amongst each other or that kind of thing, we tend to come together as Pueblans. And I think that is something that not every police chief enjoys. Many do, but not everybody. And I think it's kind of a running joke between some of us here. You can't walk 5 feet in this town without running into somebody you know.
Sure.
And as big as this town is, it still has that small town vibe where no matter where you go, you are guaranteed to run into somebody you know. Whether that's at the fair or my wife is from here. When we walk through the fair, I swear we can't walk 4 feet without running into another person that we know. And I think that's what makes Pueblo Pueblo. There are a lot of towns our size where that's not the vibe, that's not the feel. And I think of like when I lived up in the Denver metro area, I was an officer in Louisville for a while, and that's not the vibe that you got in Littleton where I lived. You didn't really know people. You might know a few people, but here in Pueblo, I can't go anywhere without somebody knowing me or my wife or our kids or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is one of the neat things about Pueblo for sure. Your department has had to deal with everything from narcotics trafficking and property crime to mental health and homelessness challenges. Talk a little bit about how the role of local law enforcement has changed, say, in the last decade or so.
Well, I think that there's a lot more that has been thrown into our lap that people expect us to deal with that really isn't in our purview. It's not in our wheelhouse. The homeless is a perfect example. Everybody says homelessness isn't a crime, and my question is, then why do you call me about it? It's not an area that I am particularly capable of dealing with. I don't have a budget that allows me to provide resources to these individuals, and most police departments don't. I can't take them to jail because they're not violating any crimes. If homelessness is the issue. And I think it's things like that have changed law enforcement. We're expected to do things. It seems like when the government, whether that's state, local, federal, takes away a resource for somebody, the response is, we'll just call the police, they'll deal with it. And I think that has changed over the last decade. It's always kind of been that way, but it's gotten worse, I think, over the course of my career.
Now, the Pueblo Police Department has invested heavily in community engagement and outreach efforts. What are some of the programs or initiatives that you feel have made the biggest difference in strengthening relationships between officers and residents?
That's a great question. There's several programs that we've done here. We have DICE team, it's called, the Directed Investigations and Community Engagement Team. It's just a really cool acronym to allow me to say DICE team. But they do a lot of stuff when it comes to trying to be a resource to homeless individuals and connect them with resources, like I talked about a minute ago. They also handle some of the lower level crime that many of those individuals commit, like loitering, trespassing, theft, property damage, that kind of thing. So they have done a great job establishing themselves as a resource in that area. They have also done a great job as it comes to retail theft, which has become an issue not just in our community but across the state. And they work really well with our business community to try to address that. So that's one group. We have a community engagement group that also runs our neighborhood watch and those types of programs.
Okay.
That has really made a positive impact, I think, with our community. And I think just being out there, being present, and trying to engage with the community at different events is also another thing that we do quite a bit in order to have that engagement with the members of our community, let them see us as people, hear what it is they're concerned about, show them some of the tools of the trade and that kind of thing.
Okay. Now, Chief Noeller, after nearly 30 years of serving in law enforcement and also serving in a leadership role with the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police, tell me a little bit about, this week is National Police Week.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about, what does National Police Week mean to you and to law enforcement across Colorado?
That's a great question. And National Police Week should really be important to all of us, every American. But like Veterans Day, I think a few people few people attend these kind of events. We just had our community event just a couple of hours ago over on the Hurd River Walk, and there was maybe 80 people there. We read the names of 13 Pueblo police officers, 3 Pueblo County Sheriff's deputies, and 1 Colorado State Patrol trooper who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our community. And one of those was a very dear friend of mine.
Oh, Chief, I'm sorry. Who was that?
Lee DeFusco.
He lost his life in the line of duty?
He did. He died several years ago in a plane crash looking for illegal marijuana grows in the county.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry. And you knew him personally? He was a friend?
Yeah, he actually worked at the police department for a number of years before he became a captain over at the sheriff's office. And we worked together on the street as patrolmen and in narcotics.
Wow. You know, Chief, here in Washington, there is a National Peace Officers Memorial that lists the names of every single law enforcement officer that has died in the line of duty, and I am betting you need to come out here to Washington if you haven't seen it yet, and come visit that, and see your friend and the other officers as well. Yeah,
he's on that wall, and so are the other 13 officers that from our department that passed. But you think about those individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And last year in our community, just 14 months ago, as you know, we had 3 officers that were shot in an ambush.
I remember.
2 of them have returned to work. One I'm not sure we'll be able to. Thankfully, they all 3 lived. And then 6 weeks after that, we had another officer, a captain, who was shot in the line of duty. And so National Police Week isn't only about the individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice. I think what individuals often forget, and it's because we live in a great country that they have the ability to forget, is how many people every day put on these uniforms and go out and put their lives on the line to protect people that they don't even know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking with Chief Blaine Hall earlier in this podcast, and I was saying the ordinary impulse for most people is you see there's danger there and you would run away from it. That's normal. It's natural. You guys in law enforcement, first responders, you run towards that danger, and that's something that is really, truly admirable and essential for the safety of all of us.
Right.
Yeah. No, Chief Noeller, what's a message that you would like to share with law enforcement officers serving communities across southern and western Colorado this week?
Well, I think I'd start off by telling them that I'm proud of them all. The men and women who wear the uniforms of their communities are stepping up at a time when few others will. They're courageous and incredible humans working in a difficult environment where few people are willing to help, but all of them are willing to criticize what they do. I tell them, don't drink the haterade. Most people respect what we're doing and they love you. The grown adults sitting in their mother's basement on the computer should be ignored, and people being paid to protest and sow dissent in our community should also be ignored. I think we serve in the most honorable profession on the planet alongside with our military members, and I can't think of another profession where men and women get up day after day for a 20-plus year career, strap a gun on and a bulletproof vest every day, and go out and willingly put themselves in harm's way to protect people that they don't even know and who are often vilifying them.
Amen.
That takes courage, integrity, character, and sacrifice, and those are topics that I think the vocal minority in our country don't understand or subscribe to. And that's what they need to remember. They're doing honorable work, and they're good people.
Chief Noeller, amen to all of that, and I'm so proud and thank you, and I thank the men and women in law enforcement in the city of Pueblo and in Pueblo County and throughout Colorado's 3rd Congressional District for that selfless sacrifice and your willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice for those of us you serve. So I, on behalf of us here in Washington and throughout the 3rd District, thank you and all of those in law enforcement for that willingness to serve the integrity and that sacrifice that is part of that career that you've voluntarily chosen.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Chief Chris Noeller, thank you for joining us on Hurd in the House.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure.
My guests today have been Montrose Police Chief Blaine Hall, Durango Police Chief Brice Current, and Pueblo Police Chief Chris Noeller. Chiefs Hall, Current, and Noeller, so glad that you were able to join us. Thank you for your continued service to the communities of Western and Southern Colorado, and thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in to Hurd in the House. For more on today's episode and updates from Colorado's 3rd District, check out my YouTube and social media channels at Rep Jeff Hurd, and subscribe to my newsletter at hurd.house.gov. That's HURD.house.gov to stay connected. Until next time, you heard it here first.